Most people think expensive bourbon automatically tastes better than the cheap stuff, and most people are wrong. The difference between a $15 bottle and a $15,000 bottle has almost nothing to do with how smooth it is. It has everything to do with understanding what level you are drinking. The multi-billion-dollar whiskey industry spends huge amounts of money on marketing campaigns just to make you feel insecure about your choices. They want you to look at a price tag and assume it equals quality. But the truth is far more structural. Today, we break down the 7 levels of American bourbon. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what to buy, how to avoid being ripped off by marketing hype, and whether or not you're just paying for a fancy glass box. Level 1, the mixer's price range, $10 to $20. Level 1 is the basement of the bourbon world. These are mass-produced, high-volume spirits aged for the bare minimum legal requirement, which is usually around 4 years. Because these distilleries pump out millions of gallons a week, they use massive industrial columns to speed up the process. On the palate, they are sharp, thin, and dominated by a harsh alcohol burn. Think of them as the bourbon equivalent of cheap plastic bottle vodka. They still contain a lot of heavy-grain alcohols that give you a massive headache the next morning. They are not meant to be sipped slowly or appreciated in a quiet room. They are engineered to be mixed with Coca-Cola at a college party or used as a cheap base in a loud dive bar. Buying these to drink neat is a mistake. But as a cheap party mixer, they do exactly what they were made to do. Level 2, the daily drinkers. Price range, $25 to $35. Level 2 is where real bourbon culture actually begins. This is the sweet spot for the everyday consumer, featuring household names like Buffalo Trace, Elijah Craig, or Maker's Mark. These bottles have spent a few more years inside the charred white oak barrels. During the hot Kentucky summers, the wood expands and absorbs the liquid, and during the winter, it contracts. This natural breathing process allows the harsh burn to mellow out into classic, sweet notes of vanilla, caramel, and honey. This level represents the absolute industry standard. It is like buying a reliable, solid, compact car. It has nothing fancy under the hood, but it never lets you down. They are smooth enough to drink straight with an ice cube, cheap enough to use in a premium weekend cocktail, and they are the perfect starting point for beginners who want to train their palate without breaking the bank. Level 3, the high-proof workhorses. Price range, $40 to $60. Level 3 is where the casual drinkers get filtered out. This level is defined by one single word: proof. Up until this point, you are drinking standard bourbon that has been heavily watered down to 80 or 90 proof before bottling. At level 3, we step into 100 proof and higher. Because the distilleries add significantly less water, the natural flavor oils stay intact. Yes, the initial burn on your tongue is much more intense, but it is backed up by massive, uncompromised flavors of baking spice, dark chocolate, and rich leather. This is also where you find the strict federal designation known as bottled in bond, which guarantees the whiskey was made in a single season by a single master distiller. If you add just a single drop of water to a level 3 bourbon in your glass, it completely opens up like a flower. This is what bartenders drink when they go home after a long shift. Level 4, the craft and artisan price range, $60 to $90. At level 4, you stop paying for just time in the barrel, and you start paying for pure innovation. This level belongs to unique craft distilleries and special secondary aging methods. For example, some brands take fully matured bourbon, pull it out of its original cask, and put it into a second deeply toasted barrel for a few extra months. This extra step draws out completely different wood sugars. The result is an incredibly rich, dessert-like flavor bursting with maple syrup, dark molasses, and toasted marshmallow. You are paying a premium here for a very labor-intensive process, not just a brand name. Level 4 is experimental and bold. It is designed for anyone who is bored of the standard traditional profiles and wants to experience a modern, creative twist on American whiskey. Level 5, the barrel proof, unicorns. Price range, $90 to $150. Level 5 is the peak of actual drinking quality. Beyond this level, you are no longer paying for better flavor or better ingredients. You are just paying for historical rarity. Level 5 is barrel proof. This whiskey comes straight out of the wooden cask and goes directly into the bottle. Zero water is added, and it is not filtered. It sits at a massive 120 proof or even higher. A single sip completely coats your entire mouth, and the finish can last for 10 minutes. The major problem here is distribution. These bottles are highly allocated, meaning distilleries purposely limit the supply to stores. This intentional scarcity creates artificial hype, making it incredibly hard to find them on shelves without a massive retail markup from greedy store owners. But if you can find them at their normal price, this is the absolute holy grail of the whiskey world. Level 6. The Historic Alchemy. Price range: $150 to $1,000. Level 6 crosses the line from a simple beverage into a social status symbol. This is the ultimate realm of the famous Pappy Van Winkle collection, or the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. These bourbons are aged anywhere from 10 to 18 years. That is the absolute physical limit of how long American whiskey can sit in a fresh charred oak barrel before the wood completely overpowers the corn, turning it into a bitter, dry mess. Over all those years in the intense Kentucky heat, up to 70% of the liquid evaporates into the air. Distillers call this the angel's share, and it means the remaining whiskey is incredibly concentrated and rare. The balance achieved by master blenders at this stage is almost supernatural. The oak flavor is deep and ancient, yet the bright fruit, cherry, and vanilla notes remain perfectly intact. Do they taste 10 times better than a Level 5 bottle? Absolutely not. Your taste buds cannot even register that much difference. At this stage, you are no longer paying for the liquid itself. You are paying for the luxury of prestige, social status, and the sheer privilege of drinking history. Level 7. The Trophy Assets. Price range: $5,000 to $50,000. Level 7 is completely detached from reality. This is the domain of ultra-rare vintage bottles, hand-blown crystal decanters, and sterling silver stoppers. To be blunt, Level 7. Bourbon is almost never opened or consumed. It exists purely as a financial asset, a tax write-off, or a trophy to be displayed in the private lounge of a billionaire. In the American whiskey community, the people who buy these just to show them off on social media are called taters. They don't even care about the taste. The market for these bottles is so wild that there is a massive underground industry of counterfeits. Criminals literally buy empty Level 7 bottles online, refill them with cheap $10 whiskey, and resell them to unsuspecting collectors at auctions. Ironically, because these liquids are aged for over 20 years in new hot oak barrels, they are often dry, overly woody, and objectively less flavorful than the cheaper bottles at Level 5. You are essentially buying liquid fine art. At Level 7, the bourbon has completely stopped being a drink. It is a liquid cryptocurrency. The conclusion. The ultimate truth of American bourbon is this. The big corporate distilleries want you to believe that you need to climb all the way to the top and spend thousands of dollars to experience true perfection. They want you to chase the hype. But the real sweet spot of the entire industry lives strictly between Level 3 and Level 5. That is where passion meets the palate, and where you get the absolute best experience for your money without getting ripped off. Drop a comment below. Which level are you currently drinking, and what is the most money you have ever spent on a single bottle? See you in the next breakdown.